Hi everyone, William here with the Grand Duke Dmitri diary series, and for a while it really is going to be exclusively diary entries. We are in 1915 today, and we will remain in 1915 until we're finished with 1915. So our recap, we had the end of the 1936 speech, which was from 20th January of that year. And really, overall, looking back at it, it wasn't so much given to the Young Russia members who were assembled there. It wasn't really so much addressed to them, so much as it was to the people who were criticizing Young Russia, and obviously had really gotten under Dmitri's skin. So what lay ahead for Dmitri? Well, the next time well, what tense do I need for this? So we did material for him for 1938 and 1939, and what happened in the interval? Well, honestly, I don't know a lot about it. There were diary entries, of course, but not a great number of them. It was, his marriage was falling apart as of 1935 and was already, heading for divorce. And so he was writing only intermittently. But what I can say is that it's very interesting that there's this gap between where he was in 1935, 1936, with Young Russia being so sort of ultra-patriotic, and where he ended up when we caught up with him later in 1939 and 40. Well, he still didn't believe that anyone should ever be allowed to attack Russia. And so he differed from the right-wing branch of the emigration in thinking that an alliance with or cooperation with Nazi Germany would be a good idea. He completely refuted that. But this was the beginning of his sort of distancing himself from Young Russia, and recognizing that Kazanbek and Young Russia had gone too far in the direction of coziness with the Soviets, and then later on expressing very emphatically to his sister more than once this idea that I am now a patriot of Europe. I want to see, a healthy, thriving Europe. He was anti-war. And yeah, so that's quite a big transformation. And yeah, we will be returning to that at some point. But for the moment, we're in 1915. And in our last diary entry, we had what? We had him finding out that Sandro of Leuchtenberg was interested in Maria, and also sitting down and having a real conversation about the war with his father. And this is kind of, you could say that 1935, 1936 were sort of the apogee of his presentation of himself as a fervent Russian patriot, whereas these early months of 1915, January, February, on until summer, were probably the nadir, I don't know how to say that word, I should have found a different word, anyway, of his sort of patriotic presentation of himself. He was just not there. He was, whether by choice or inclination, distancing himself from that, and distracting himself with various entertainments. And it wouldn't take too long for that to change, and the big impetus for the change would be, just how badly Russia was doing in the war, and this crisis with Nicholas II deciding he was going to take over as the supreme commander. And then Dmitri was really plunged into an attempt to firstly to intervene so that that wouldn't happen, unsuccessfully of course, and then after that we're sort of on this downward trajectory to the Rasputin assassination, where he gets more and more depressed. Even Nicholas notices that he's depressed and more concerned about what's happening in the country, and feeling that he needs to do something, that he needs to act. So at the moment we're pre all of that. And yeah, what is our cast for today? Well, Maria for the last time for a while, Polyakov the doctor, and Yelena Georgievna, a Duchess of Leuchtenberg, the sister of Sandro, and a mention of Grand Duke Konstantin Konstantinovich, who was of course not present. All right, this is the 12th/25th of February in Petrograd at Nevsky 41, Dmitri's palace. It's 0 degrees, and we have some light snow, and it's overcast. And that's the weather report. Here we go. I didn't sleep particularly well. I woke up in the middle of the night with a bad toothache. I had to pace back and forth in the room until the pain eased up. I woke up around 10 o'clock and had coffee in bed. Maria came. Polyakov arrived around 11 o'clock and looked at my throat. He says the scab is still there, but I begged him to let me go out tomorrow. He agreed. He'll allow me to do it tomorrow. I lunched à deux with Maria. Then she went into town. I did some reading. I had tea at 5 o'clock. Yelena Georgievna came. She says Uncle Kostya is doing very poorly. Last night he had a heart attack and it almost ended in disaster. Yelena stayed until 7 o'clock. After her departure, Maria and I sat around in her apartment. We had dinner together at 7:30, and at 8 o'clock she left for Tsarskaya, and from there to Alexandrovskaya and Pskov. It's a pity that she's gone, but thank God I'll be able to go out tomorrow. I spent the evening alone, reading. All right, boy, the toothache. I shuddered just to think of that. I've had some similar experiences where, nothing seems to make a dent in the pain and you're left to just pace. I feel sorry for the guy. He doesn't talk about summoning or going to a dentist. I don't know why at this point. He certainly would not be slow to go to dentists in the future, even when he was in out-of-the-way places like Baghdad. And, at this point, he seems to be able to handle it. So, good for him. I'm impressed. We don't know if he was taking any painkillers. Well, people were tough back then. This is interesting that he uses the word begged in relation to the doctor. I begged to be allowed to go out. I'm not quite sure. I need to look at my own dissertation, because I don't think Grand Dukes truly came into their majority until they were 25. And Dmitri was not yet 25. He'd be turning 24 that year. So I'm not sure if he felt like he was completely a free agent. I mean, obviously no one is stopping him from, when he is allowed to go out, from, sort of leading a fast life, as they say. But on the other hand, maybe it was just him. He did obey the rules at the sanatorium. It was a pretty lax place, shots out, but he obeyed the rules. He didn't go out if the doctor didn't say he could go out. And yeah, maybe that was his upbringing, especially with Grand Duke Sergei. Boy, you towed the line. So maybe that's why he felt like he had to have the official permission of the doctor. He wasn't just going to say, okay, I'll be careful, but I'm going out, or not even bringing the subject up. Okay, when I say that Maria went into town, my translation using those words, went into town. Well, that's, literally what Dmitri says, into the city, into town, but they are in town. The palace is in town. It's in, it's not in an out of the way place within Petrograd. So he just means, I think, that she's going out. Maybe she's doing some shopping. We don't know. Getting ready to be leaving Petrograd. And he stays at home. He's not allowed to go out yet. So then we have the arrival at around 5 o'clock of a person that is not mentioned very often in Dmitri's diaries. I didn't check this, my index. This could actually have been the only mention. As close as he was and would be in the future to Sandro Leuchtenberg-ski, he doesn't seem to have had much interest in the sister, and maybe because the sister was actually younger than him, only by 1 year. But I think she wasn't married, and she was younger than him, and women like that were off limits, both from his own taste and from, what was tolerated in general. But she brings news of Uncle Kostya, Konstantin Konstantinovich, that he'd had this the night before. He'd had what Dmitri calls a heart attack. Although I tried to find out what he actually died of, because he would only be alive for another 3 days. He would die on the 15th. And supposedly of a stroke, although I guess nobody is really completely sure. And, much has been made of the fact that he died of a broken heart, or not the fact, but the idea that he died of a broken heart because of the death of his fourth son, Oleg, who was, I guess, his father's favorite in combat in 1914. And, yeah, people do die of broken hearts. But, it's interesting because Romanov men just didn't live very long. I mean, I wonder how long Dmitri would have made it beyond 50 if not for the tuberculosis. And maybe, maybe he still would have died at 50. I don't know if his kidney failure was tubercular or not. But, none of them lived very long. I mean, Alexander III was in his 40s. Now, Uncle Kostya is in his 50s. I think he was 57. And yeah, I don't know. We'll never know, of course, how long Nicholas would have lived. But the only one I know who lived very long in the days before the revolution, I may be wrong, but Grand Duke Mikhail Nikolaevich, a son of Nicholas I, he lived long enough to be in a wheelchair and having had strokes, and very, very old, I believe. I should look that up. Hopefully he wasn't 60 and already in a wheelchair and disabled, what's the word for that? Debilitated, whatever. Okay, I'm talking too slowly here. So, where was Maria going? Well, she was going back to the hospital where she worked. And it was Pskov. She was going first to Tsarskaya, probably to say goodbye to Paul, and then on to some place that I don't know called Alexandrovskaya, and then finally to her destination in Pskov. And I did look that up. I wanted to see how close it was to the front, and it wasn't. It wasn't close at all to the front. It was well behind the Russian lines. Okay, Dmitri's sorry to see her go, but oh well, he'll be able to go out the next day, and that makes him happy. So what will we have next time? Well, he's not going to miss a minute of this day out. He's going to hit the ground running. He'll be at the yacht club by lunchtime. He'll be going to the Astoria Hotel. He'll be going to a new nightclub called the Nook, or the Corner, Ugolok in Russian. Interesting place, and it had only been open, I think, a few months, maybe even less. And yeah, we'll see what he thinks about it. So definitely come back for that, and I'll see you then. Bye.